Welcome to the Money Effect, where I bring you all the news, money, and finance related. Disclaimer: this is not financial advice and strictly for educational purposes and just my opinions. Hit like and subscribe so for the YouTube algo and continued content. Now that's out the way, let's go. So, the topic we're going to discuss this week, as you can see on screen, is the new COVID variant called Omicron. So on Friday, traditional Black Friday sale, we had, I think it started in America and obviously it's come to the UK. So you have heavily discounts, and on Friday we saw a new variant come out, and it caused a lot of panic, basically in the markets and in the crypto world, which we'll discuss. And it's literally, a lot of fear that's led to panic. So, you know, first of all, what's the issue? So there's a new variant. It was discovered in South Africa, being a bit more, I guess, proactive. America, I believe, and the UK, they've banned, travel from South Africa and certain countries in that region, and it's really a case of the unknown at the moment. So this is, we're living in a world where we really don't know what is going on at present. So this new variant has come. There's always going to be new variants and mutations, but the reason this new variant has kind of, say how worried we should be. The reason this new variant is kind of been picked up on is the fact that um, at the moment it seems potentially it could be worse than the Delta. It could be hesitant to vaccines. It seems to maybe spread faster than the Delta. Maybe, like I said, the vaccines are not protecting our one's immune systems. But obviously, this is right now is the unknown. But from the initial kind of detection and reporting and research that's been done, that's what the foundings have been found to have. But we could come out in a week or so and say, oh well, this don't even make no sense. And it's just because there's so many variants. This COVID literally, if you see here, it literally, it mutates. COVID can mutate, and then some of the variants these vaccines can handle. But we're always at this kind of edge where if we get a new variant, which is basically like a new COVID strain, which these vaccines and these treatments can't handle, then obviously we're in a risk of the world going into lockdown again. So obviously that spread a lot of fear. And as you can see here, look, the Dow, which is in America, a good index of value stocks, more everyday stocks, tumbled on this fear of the new COVID variant, and so did the S&P. So it's the worst day of the year on this fear. So it is a big news and something we have to be aware of, because if this new variant turns out to be something that vaccines, and we'll only know in the few weeks ahead, if it turns out to be something where it is resistant to these new vaccines, then obviously we're going to need new vaccines, and potentially we might, cases around the world were already rising. We've seen in Austria and Germany new lockdowns announced, but that's more cases are rising, but people are not dying. Now, if we've got a new variant that's hesitant and has resistance to these drugs, then obviously potentially hospitalization and death could increase, and that's when we're going to see new lockdowns. So, with the Dow, suffered its worst day of the year. Then oil, dropped 13%. Why did oil drop 13%? Obviously, if we go into lockdowns, demand for oil, people are not going to be driving their car because you're going to be stuck in your house, as was the case before. So again, oil dropped massively low. So this is the most important thing right now. I'd say in the market is, and it's going to develop over the next week or so, few weeks. How is this variant playing out? At the moment, I believe they've only identified, I think no more than 100 and so cases. I believe there's a couple of cases in the UK, but like I said, we don't know if it starts spreading faster, and it's not, the vaccine has not been proven to be effective, and then they need to create a new vaccine. Things do take time, so potentially that could be an issue. So if I, right, let's look at some of the worst affected stocks. Obviously, as I said, travel stocks. Um, there's already been the UK has already kind of banned travel from South Africa in the region. So is America, and obviously, if this, I believe if this variant has spread, say, to Europe already, and it's just not known, and people are just testing for it now, then obviously that could lead to even more bans. So if we look for one company, IAG, which is basically British Airways, you can see, the impact that it's had. It dropped. Okay, I guess not a massive drop, but it dropped. Well, it is a massive drop. Sorry, it dropped from 154 to 130. Obviously, especially British Airways, which is international. They do international flights. So if look, that's a 15, nearly 15% drop in one day. Obviously, international is going to be the first travel to get banned, because obviously that's British Airways. They go to South America, Africa, those kind of regions. So that will be the first place that will be banned. So that was one of the worst affected stocks. Obviously, again, we've got EasyJet here. You can see a much bigger drop. Same reason. If we're getting more so EasyJet in terms of, if we're going to get, they might not have a big presence in South Africa. So I don't think they do flights. But of course, if we're starting about travel bans, potentially if the variant is in Europe, these things are going to be banned as well. And obviously other stocks that have gone down, oil, we just stopped oil. If we look here and we see BP, British Petroleum, they're not as bad as the other stocks, but again, a big drop. Banks, Lloyds Bank is a big drop. Twofold reason. Obviously, if we're going into new lockdowns and there's less demand, then inflation is literally going to take care of itself. So we don't need to worry about inflation, and then we don't need to worry about high interest rates, which is what's been leading these bank stocks. And obviously, again, the repercussions from lockdown, people working from home, maybe people losing their jobs, not paying their mortgages, and Lloyd's is very exposed to that. So these are kind of travel stocks, financials, mining stocks, oil stocks. Those are the worst stocks that have kind of been hit, in this, on Friday. Let's see some of the best stocks. So obviously Zoom. Now Zoom actually at the start of the week on Monday, Tuesday, they announced their financial results, and it was really like, I think we've seen in a short, we've seen the best growth days behind us, and as such, Zoom dropped off massively, which is obviously understandable because there was a point, if we look at Zoom over the last 5 years, this is a company that was trading at this kind of level, and then it just literally shot up all the way. So that basically, in a sense, if we go back a bit further, it's basically at one point 5x its highest peak. So you know that was because we was all at home, we was all using online. Zoom was so big, not just for work but for other social purposes and stuff like that. Obviously, those full lockdown is hopefully never happening again. So obviously Zoom has sold off on that fact. But then, today we see it had a big jump because of these new variant concerns. And if there's a new variant, we'll go back to lockdown again. Zoom's going to pick up. So I had a great day. Another company that had a even better day is pharmaceuticals. One of the ones is Moderna. So I think Moderna have said already, they're working on new vaccines. They're going to look at if these new vaccines they could bring a new vaccine to market within 3 months. They're working on boosters. They're going to see if their vaccines don't affect these variants. And obviously, if this is a new variant like the old COVID variant, and we've seen Moderna where it went from. Look at the company. From 46 around, before Corona, around 20. This is even 20x, 20 and 30x. So if we get new variants and we need new vaccines, and I'm not talking about boosters, I'm talking about actual new vaccines. This is again, it's another avenue of revenue for Moderna. So that's why it's it's had a it had a great day on Friday. So if you think, how, depending on how you're going to play, if you feel that, if you look at your portfolio and say, okay, these are the kind of stocks that are going to be affected. So also following that, we've got an article here. So Bitcoin plunges into bear market now, which is interesting. Now, Bitcoin and the cryptos actually all sold off. Now, Bitcoin, we look at Bitcoin, we can see, within that one day, it literally had a massive decline from literally it was going to break out back above 60, and then it just literally dropped to 1.853. Now, these Bitcoin moves are not as bad because obviously Bitcoin's growing in size. So I believe that was about a 10% dip, near 10% dip. But I understand Bitcoin, it's got an inflation play around it. So if there's less inflation, it's not a store of value, it's going to sell off. But we also saw these falls in Ethereum. Now, Ethereum is not moving on any kind of inflation play, and Ethereum is moving on the way the new world is going to be with decentralized finance, DeFi, we know these NFTs, and obviously we're seeing this term, the metaverse. So why Ethereum and crypto is selling off because of a new variant is unknown. But if we go back to here, it's just a general kind of risk. As soon as any kind of risk panics in the market, you see the headlines. Look at the headline: Dow falls, tumbles, worst day ever. Oil, worst day ever. How worried should we be? What do we know about this? So obviously Bitcoin plunges. It's a bear territory. So when we get these kind of negative headlines, which is what sells paper, that the media is here to sell paper. So, and this is a topic that's going to get people buying and clicking on their site. So obviously they're not going to spin it in a positive light. Generally, people are just going to be like, damn, I'm selling everything. But if you believe in the metaverse and you believe in the new the cryptocurrencies, I don't know why are you selling it based on a variant. So yeah, it's a bit crazy, but it's affected every aspect of the market. So everything was kind of on sale. So how do we look at this? What kind of advice can I give? So first thing I would say, and again, this is not advice because this is more for educational purposes. So let me not say advice, but when you're approaching these things, the first thing you've got to do is you've got to relax. You've got to relax. You've got to relax. You're going to see, like I said, you're going to see headlines like this, and you need to relax because the key is here's what we know so far. What do we know? Like these, at the moment, you need to put this into perspective. The new normal, we're always going to, there's been so many variants. There's like 500 COVID variants. So it's not like, oh, we've just suddenly got a new one that's never happened before. We've had so many of them. Obviously, last year we had the Delta variant. And again, that potentially led to some lockdowns. This year, obviously, we've got another variant that they're listing as a variant of concern. So when it's a variant of concern, that means, okay, this one could potentially be something that's impactful. But at present, they don't know. They need to now take this variant. They need to test it with these vaccines. They need to check, see how far is it spreading. But at the moment, they don't know. So it's more, put it into perspective. At the moment, I think there's about 100 cases, and we've had like millions of cases. So at the moment, put it into perspective, keep an eye on the news, and let's see how it develops. If this Omicron turns out to be nothing, then you've got some great stocks for sale. Also, as well, this is why keep the fundamentals. Keep an eye on the fundamentals. If you're somebody that believes, uh, let's say if you're somebody that believes inflation is going to happen next year, central banks have pumped too much quantitative easing. The banks are fully, their balance sheets is fully solid, and they're going to now raise interest rates soon. Then you're looking at these bank stocks, and this is now actually a good position for you to get in. If you're focusing on the fundamentals, again, if you're somebody that thinks Bitcoin is a great store of value no matter what happens, and you believe in Bitcoin, then these are now good prices. These are sales. Like why is it that when Black Friday, I'm sure when a TV goes on sale for 30%, everybody's rushing to it, even if you don't even need the TV. Maybe you just use your old one in your spare bedroom. But when you see big drops in the stocks, you're not thinking, oh, okay, let's buy these stocks. You're thinking, let's sell them. And now you're going to end up selling even at lower prices. So stick to your convictions. If you've got a theme that you're following, if your theme is, then, for these certain ones, stick to them. Stick to your theme, stick to your the fundamentals. That's when it comes important, because that's what's going to drive you to hold these stocks. Also now, look at your time horizon. If you're somebody that has, let's look at EasyJet. If you're somebody that has a 12-month horizon, which is kind of the minimum horizon you should have if you want to hold an investment, not trade, hold an investment, then potentially you're looking at these companies like an EasyJet and you're thinking, well, okay, let's look at the past year, for example. We had a massive drop, obviously, because of COVID. But then, as you can see, as we went into April, June, when we started getting these new vaccines, when the summer started coming up, there was more people outside. You can see that, EasyJet hit 1,000 per share. Right now, it's at 500. So if you're looking, we're in November. If you're thinking, I'm going to hold this stock for another year, which is, November 2022, and potentially you want to see how summer plays out. Moderna have already said that if need be, they could bring out a new vaccine within 3 months. Potentially, it's going to get FDA approval very quickly within a month, and it's going to get distributed very quickly. So by summer, if this is a new variant of concern, it is actually impactful. Yeah, we might drop lower, but by summer, it will play out the same as it did last summer. So these kind of travel stocks that have been affected, potentially it's the time to look at them. Also, we've got Peloton. Peloton, it's had a horrible time as of late. Had some bad earnings announcements again, same as Zoom, but you can see it's gone up 5-6%. Now, you can look at this as two ways. Okay, maybe if we do go back to lockdown, this is a good stock, but at the same time, if we don't, is this actually a fundamentally good company? Is this, if COVID is ending and you're trying to hold this for 12 months, in summer next year, is this going to be a stock to hold, or is it just a bump for one day that people, good for traders, but as you as an investor, you're going to want to get this stock now, holding it for 12 months. So you have to think about those things. And then also you might get quality stocks on sale. Like if you look at Google, it only dropped 2-3%. This is a kind of stock that, look at the rise. That literally is just going up and up and up and up. This is now even a good time to, if you've got this position, add to it, or start a position potentially. So when we're approaching these issues, we can have to look at it that way. And I guess I'll just leave you with this old adage: you should really buy when markets are falling, not rising, because that's now the whole plays into the psychological things. When we start hearing in the news our markets at new time highs, that's when people buy and then thinking they've missed out. But often that's the case where we've hit the top and we're going to see a pullback. But when the pullback comes, people don't buy. If we look at Bitcoin, for example, all time, if we all remember when in 2017 when we hit 20,000 and then it sold off rapidly to 3,000. If you were somebody that thought, what, I'm going to start building a position now at these levels for 3,000, then look what you could have achieved. But no, instead, once it gets to the high, this is when we buy, and then it's just psychological. And then once it starts selling off, we sell and we make a loss instead of thinking the opposite way. So it's kind of, you have to change your mindset. And then at the same time as well, don't try and catch a falling knife. If fundamentally Peloton is not good, if you fundamentally believe Bitcoin is the greatest Ponzi ever, if you don't believe in Ethereum and Metaverse, if you don't believe in the inflation play, if you don't believe travel stocks will ever be the same, if you don't believe oil demand will be the same, then yeah, don't try and catch a falling knife, because these things are just going to keep going lower and lower and lower and lower. So yeah, so that's what I'll leave you with. That's the news topic today. And yeah, keep an eye out. And please, if you like this video, like and subscribe. Thank you. The Money Effect.